And we are back, finishing up with the TVPs, at least on our end. For Group A, we are going to be continuing this series with, or rather, this bracket, here we go, with some of our TVTs coming down. If you were wondering what's going to go on with Creator versus Gumiho, that is going to be played on the mainstream, as it is a qualifying match, but for our end, we still have a couple of matches before we get to the lower bracket finals, and that is what we're going to determine who is eventually going to face either Gumiho or Creator in that lower bracket qualifying match. It's most likely going to be a Terran player, just based on the progression, and it could be one of these two that we have here on Site Delta. We're here in the top left-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the top left. We, of course, have our red Terran player coming out from the land of Brazil. He is going to be representing R8 Esports. We have Kelazhur.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the American Terran player, the blue Terran representing Majorino Esports. It is Future.
And this is going to be quite the clash of the NA Titans, the NA Terran Titans, if you will. Future, for a long time, has held on to that claim of being the #1 Terran player in North America, at the very least. Kelazhur has recently overtaken Special, I would say, to become the #1 Terran player from Latin America. And now, when it comes to the combined Americas region in general, it's still a little bit of a toss-up. I want to favor Kelazhur a little bit, but Future definitely still has it in him to take it to Kelazhur and try to reinforce that claim, if you will.
Definitely, this is a classic battle of the Americas here between Kelazhur and Future, between Latino America and the North Americas here. And yeah, we'll see how this does for now. I mean, I'm hoping for an ace match. I'm hoping we can get the most out of these two, but yeah, it's going to be on both Kelazhur and Future, as we do see a double gas opener from Kelazhur, a bit of a more safer and potentially more aggressive opener from our red Terran player. Meanwhile, Future going for a Rax Expand economic opener out of our blue Terran player.
Interesting. Didn't exactly neglect the Reaper, but he is focused a lot more on his Marine production. Only one Reaper for the time being, whereas Kelazhur is, going to be a little bit more orthodox here. Still going to go for more of a Reaper Hellion opening. Going to have a little bit of a stronger scouting force when he gets across the map.
Yes, Kelazhur will have more of a map presence here with his Reaper Hellion. Future is going to be taking more defensive stands. I mean, Bunker is almost done, so he's going to be able to hold on to at least that natural. He's going to have to keep an eye on this Reaper cliff as well, as Kelazhur could always try to bypass the ramp with his Mass Reaper and dip into the main base. Again, it's on Future to defend. It's going to be on Kelazhur to make these initial units worth their while.
Yeah. It's going to be a little, I don't want to say conservative, but this isn't quite the coffee build that we're seeing. It's only 3 Reapers and only 1 Hellion. Maybe switching a little bit into Wood Mines for defense. Just keeping my eyes peeled. I'm curious as to when Kelazhur will actually pull the trigger, as so far it looks like he is waiting for his starport to finish up.
Yeah, we're just waiting for that. We're still just keeping our Reaper Hellion busy back at home. We do see Future moving out for a bit of scouting information. Is going to be the first to move out across the map, but again, shouldn't be getting too much damage done. We even have that safety Wood Mine here on top of the ramp, and Future, is going to take it to the face.
Just like so. Tried to avoid that, but was just a split second too late, and with that, that's going to prompt Kelazhur to go across the map with what he's got. Try to dip in and get more damage done than Future did.
You can see we're in position again. We have the bunker full of Marines. We have the Cyclone on the high ground as well. Kelazhur is going to try and test the waters, get a read on what's going on, and for now, won't find too much damage. The Hellion dips in, confirms the bunker at least, and on the high ground, Future is just settling into his 1-1-1. Never mind, going for a second starport very quickly.
Oh boy. This can be a lot of things. I'm keeping my eyes peeled for a potential fusion core coming down. Raven going to come out, so yeah, it's looking a lot more orthodox here. I'm super curious. You don't often see double starport openings in TvT.
Yeah, if you remember, this is a very special build. Juanito's very fond of this. This is a 2-base all-in. 2-base all-in, mass Viking. Basically, you go up to, I want to say, around 5 Vikings, and then you make a Liberator. And because you have so many Vikings, you have air control, you can bully back anything in the air, and then your Liberator zones away the ground army, you just commit to an all-in, you break your opponents. And so far, Kelazhur's in the dark. He tests the waters, force back, and he has yet to confirm the main base.
This is starting to ring a bell to me, yeah. Yeah, definitely a very interesting build. Definitely a very unique build, I should say. Juanito Special was the main proponent of it, was really the player who made the most use out of this specific build. With the double starports, of course, you're not neglecting your Ravens. You're still going to be able to have them for a little bit more utility as the game continues. Still have your disable, still have potential auto turrets as Future. Actually going to pull the trigger a little bit early here.
Yeah, this is a bit of a different variation of it. There's that Liberator that we spoke about. Again, so important to get it just because that's the purpose of having all these Vikings, is for that air control for the Liberator. And here we go, Kelazhur going to try and slow this down. Kelazhur went for a faster CC. He was going for a more economic build, and he might be caught with his pants down. A Future does have that supply lead.
Does have the supply lead. More importantly, he has the air control with these 2 Vikings. Already going to be able to disable one of these tanks, banking up energy to disable the other.
Yeah, again, we don't want to waste it. You can see Future getting in position, trying to get even within range of the main base. We're still waiting for those reinforcements, though, and Future is throwing down a 3rd CC behind this, so this is not going to be an all-in. Future is trying to think further ahead.
This is an interesting take on this build.
Oh.
This little variation that we're seeing. Tank does get disabled and will get taken out. Raven almost goes down, but Kelazhur just barely going to keep it alive. Gonna repair it?
Yeah, and you can see this massive army making its way into the natural base as well. You can see that Future, even though he's throwing down the 3rd CC back at home, he may not need it, as Liberator is going to be zoning away that ram, making sure no reinforcements come down from the main base, and the CC is under fire.
Yeah, it's going to go down, or most likely going to go down. Even if as it lifts up, we still have Vikings in the air that can attack it.
Yeah, the Vikings going ham. The base is barely going to escape. We get 13 SCV kills, and now we can even push into the main.
We got a disable on that tank. Kelazhur desperately trying to get Vikings out. That is just one way of coming back here, but Future is already here, ready to meet him with that Viking count. Kelazhur clutch disables, will be able to get his Marines into position, get them forward, but disables do run out. Marines do go down. And Future is going to be able to keep this push going.
Yeah, exactly. Future going to bleed out one of these tanks, but no, never mind. He shuts down the tank with the high ground. GG gets called, and Future takes game number 1.
That was very special. Not quite the special, but yeah, very interesting take on the special build. Like you were mentioning, when Juanito usually does this, it's meant to be an all-in. It's meant to be a 2-base all-in. Future wasn't all-in. He was still getting that 3rd, but it's still very potent, even though he moved out with only 2 Vikings, when you know, ordinarily you would move out with 5. It just goes to show how powerful of a timing this is, how crucial air superiority can be, especially in the early game. That Kelazhur, who was in the dark the entire time, who was opting for a more economic build, just didn't have anything to respond to it, just didn't have the tools available.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see, because usually when Special does this build, the reason why he has more Vikings is he actually doesn't go Raven. He doesn't start with Raven. He goes and prioritizes Vikings instead before going into that Liberator. So as you said, this was a different take from Future, and Future does come up with his own builds more often than not. He's a very kind of adventurous and a bit of a pioneer in the Terran matchup. So yeah, it is really cool to see him kind of have that own take that we did mention, and yeah, that was a wild game.
Wild indeed is how I describe it.
And now the pressure is on. Now Kelazhur, Diego is up against the wall. I mean, it also helped, just winding it back a little bit, that Kelazhur did go for a faster TC. So remember, he was working on a more longer game, working on his economy, when basically a 2-base all-in had occurred. I know that there was a CC behind it and more Raxes behind it, but like, it was still very committed and hit like a truck.
Yeah, Yeah, without a doubt. And with that, we're going to be continuing our series. As a reminder, this is an elimination match. The loser of this series will be just knocked out of the tournament entirely. But here we are, going to continue it on Crimson Court, where we're here in the top right-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the top right. We have our red Terran player coming down from the land of America. He is, of course, going to be representing Matcherino Esports. We have Future.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the blue Terran player representing R8 Esports. It is Kelazhur. Down in this series, and he has to fight back here and now to force that ace match.
Indeed, he does. Getting a little bit blindsided in game number 1, and he just can't afford to... He just can't afford for that to happen again. This is the elimination match. He's one map away from just being knocked out of the tournament entirely.
Yeah, again, Kelazhur, he was, if you remember in the last game, he was denied entry into the main, denied entry into the national. He just could not scout whatsoever. He was struggling to scout. And we saw that again, scouting is paramount. Had no idea what was coming his way until it was too late. But now we're entering a very different game state. Double gas opener again from Kelazhur, same as game 1. This time Future doing the same.
Indeed, he is. So, yeah, it's very standard coming out from both of them. Reaper expands, I imagine, are on the table right now.
Yeah, with double gas openers, there should be a faster factory, and there it is. We have the factory on the high ground of Future. He fakes out an expansion on the low ground, so interesting move as... Oh my god, the SCVs barely get away. He wants it.
He's juking. He's jiving. They're dancing.
They are dancing, and again, it is going to be mirrored builds. Again, racks into factories from both players, into delayed command centers, but we should be eventually expanding here. One base all-in's much more of a rarity in TvT.
We'll get taken out in the end by that Reaper. And not the biggest of deals, but a little bit of a morale victory.
As we do get one SCV, Reaper gets into the main base. CC is being thrown down in the main as well. Future with the map control gets his own on the low ground. Ooh, as the Reaper does take some extra hits.
Yeah, Future going to be able to take out the Reaper of Kelazhur, and now things can get a little bit worrisome.
Yeah, Kelazhur bleeds out a Reaper. The Reaper of Future still being active across the map as well. Future does take a Reaper lead, and that is actually quite important. Thankfully, we have a Hellion in time, so we should be able to hold on.
Yeah. At this stage, we're not quite able to snowball out of control. You know, we are very much in the early game, but Future has pretty much solidified his map control. Now he has the Hellion to come meet the rest of his army, and he's looking to make full use of it. He can try to bully Kelazhur back, there we go, take out the SCV, building the starport, get a further delay. Get a further delay on the natural base as well. Cyclone's going to come out, and that should just about be an end to this, but Future has just gotten such a strong start for himself.
He really have two SCVs go down, the Reapers, the Hellions as well. Big delay in the production, delay on the CC. Hellions, they're not done. They want some Marines. They get one extra Marine here towards the end, and they might even barely get another as the Hellion is going to be finally cleaned up. But as you mentioned, Future getting a surprising amount of damage done in the early game.
Yeah, that's nice to get in the early game, right? When we have a series or when we have a matchup that's potentially super, super, super close, advantages like this can end up being what pushes you over the edge here.
It really can, as Future going for even a drop follow-up here, just really not slowing down, not easing up on the gas or on the pressure on Kelazhur. Kelazhur moves out, and it looks like Kelazhur will get eyes on the Medorak. He will delay this, will force the drop in the middle of the map.
Yeah, we'll force another drop, but a very quick boost, a well-timed boost, will be able to prevent that. Kelazhur going to drop once again, or Future going to drop once again in the middle of the map. A nice little bit of juggling coming out from Future. He's still going to be able to land in main base.
Yeah, he shouldn't get much done, though, as the Cyclones, they keep up, they get some lock-ons, and the Medorak, it goes down!
expensive loss here coming out from Future.
Yeah, very extensive medevac. A tank goes down as well. Suddenly, Kelazhur, with a bit of momentum, is moving out across the map, and now it's on Future to defend. Now he's going into a pretty hefty tank count. He's already got 2 here back at home, so he should be okay. But with this medevac, we could avoid those tanks. We could go for the mineral lines.
Yeah, we absolutely could. And there's not that much anti-air here for Future. We have 1 Viking, which can be avoided if Kelazhur is able to keep eyes on it, is able to tell what the positioning of that Viking is.
That's another second star point. It's the same build. it's the same build 2 games right for Future.
Yeah. And we'll see how this ends up panning out for him. Kelazhur going to try to fight back even harder, going to try to reciprocate the damage that he received earlier on, going for a tank drop of his own.
Yeah, he is sieging up, trying to get within range of the production, dropping into the main base as well. Future a bit out of position here. Oh, the lock on the Raven, the big hits going off, forcing out the auto target, which means there's no disable. At the same time, Future collapsing on that tank.
Yeah, trying to anyway. Will be able to take it out, but still the Cyclones going ham in the main base. 5 SCVs go down, and this is Kelazhur getting himself back in this game economically.
Yeah, big scout as well. We get eyes on the second star point. Now, Kelazhur does have a third CC on location, still focusing on the economy. Still greedy play here from Kelazhur, and Future is coming in to punish this.
Indeed, he is. Kelazhur getting in position, and Crimson Court is, I would say, a more defensible map than Site Delta.
Yeah, you can see the Future, he needs Vikings. So he needs the Vikings to keep up, to zone away those Ravens, otherwise the disables are going to be massive. We do get some extra hits on that tank at least, and we're going to go for the third base. We do force a lift up, but can we break the natural?
And no need to siege up just yet for Future. They're going to try to take out this. They're going to try to take out this CC. Camping the production right now, trying to take out these Vikings as they pop out.
Yeah, the tanks are getting within range of the reactor. The reactor is going to be going down. You can see the Kelazhur is responding with the second starport of his own. So he's going into double starport production here at the natural base as well. But he's supply blocked
pretty heavily. Oh no, the starport is also in range of these tanks. Once that pops, Kelazhur is going to cede pretty much the entirety of the air control here to Future. He will lift, and that will keep the starport alive. But while it's lifted, it can't actually get any production down.
Yeah, and that's going to be a denial of combat shields. A big pick off there from Future. Meanwhile, he's getting within range of the tanks. Disable is brutal, and 1 tank goes down for free.
That was combat shield?
Let's go do it again. That was combat shields.
We don't have Sim yet.
We don't have Stim.
Interesting.
And Kelazhur is getting picked up by the Vikings. They land on top of the tanks. Another tank going to be going down. Order is going to be helping here, but we lose every single tank.
And without tanks, how do you push into this? Well, we have Ravens. We have some auto turret potential. But once again, Vikings lift up, and Future has the air superiority once more.
Yeah, thankfully there's a tank on the high ground. The boys are being pulled as well, trying to buy time, trying to force a Future back. We have the CC here towards the northern base. Kelazhur trying to keep his economy up and running, but again, he's just down in the army.
Very much down in the army. It's going to be difficult for Future to try to push into this position, I will say. But he's getting there, slowly but surely.
Yeah, he is still pushing in. 2 tanks, they reposition here on the low ground. We can see Future edging on a bit closer. The eBay is going to be shut down. We will deny +1 armor. We go for the disables.
Oh, the Ravens. We do go for huge disables on Future's army, but there's so many tanks, and we still have so many Vikings that it might not matter in the end. Marines are going to get completely wiped out. Kelazhur able to keep most of his tanks alive, but he's still running a massive deficit compared to the tanks of Future.
Yeah, Future getting his own 3rd CC up and running. He is throwing down additional Raxes back at home, but he's just bullying his way forward, forcing his way into that natural base. Without any more Ravens, it's going to be difficult to break this siege line, as you were saying. But can we get within range of the starport? We can!
Uh-oh. Future once again going to be able to keep Kelazhur's air production as low as possible. He kept a starport on that tech lab, or he kept a tech lab on one of his starports, so he is able to resume Raven production. Raven pops out. and it's looking... The chances for Kelazhur are looking grimmer and grimmer. He pulls voice once again as a bit of a desperation move. He is down 40 army supply, and this is gotta be the end here.
Yeah, there's just nothing left here. 21 SCVs go down. We're down to 0 tanks in between the two bases. Again, Future just pulling his way forward 2 games in a row, going for the double starport all in. It, of course, has an economy behind this, but this just hit once again like a truck. GG gets called. Well played, and Future takes the 2-0.
Wow, GG, very nicely done here from Future with a very interesting build coming out from him, a very interesting take, I should say, of what's meant to be an all-in, but technically wasn't. Still a very committed push, still a very strong timing coming out for Future here, and yeah, just that one adjustment to have a tech lab on one of those starports, to have Raven production and push out with a couple of fewer Vikings, that worked brilliantly. Kelazhur tried to play economic, tried to play standard both games, and both times was, I wouldn't say blindsided necessarily in game number 2. I mean, he saw that it was coming, but yeah, I guess he just wasn't quite able to formulate a responses build wasn't quite able to formulate an adequate responses build.
Yeah, exactly.
In what little time, in what very little time that he had to adjust.
Exactly. It's such a unique build here, or I say such unique, but a new take on an otherwise 2-base all-in build from Future, and yeah, it's a little bit harder to scout as well, just because of the Ravens. I mean, Kelazhur did see it coming ahead of time, and he was preparing, he was harassing himself, he was aggressive initially, if you remember, but that counterattack was brutal, and yeah, we saw it was just so unfortunate that the starports were being camped multiple times. Like, they were within range of the tanks, and without those starports, without any Vikings, the air control was brutal, and it was, again, heavily in favor of all Future, and was able to flex that to snowball into a win both times.
Yeah, very nicely done. I'm gonna have to save this replay.
You're an
I'm gonna have to look more into this one. So yeah, GG, very nicely done from Future. He will keep his hopes and dreams alive here in ESL Masters Spring. He will be advancing to the lower bracket semifinals. Kelazhur, unfortunately, will be eliminated from the tournament in what feels way too early for Kelazhur normally.
Yeah, my condolences to Kelazhur here. I mean, he's a great guy. He's a fan favorite as well. A lot of people behind Kelazhur. Even Cosmos was, of course, casting Cosmos, the Portuguese caster, or the Brazilian caster, and yeah, alas, Kelazhur does bow out here early on.
Yeah, unfortunately, but the tournament does not. And it looks like we don't quite have too many updates yet when it comes to bracket A. Seems that Epic and Ryzer might... Oh!
They, I believe, have completed. I don't think they announced their score, though. So I believe Ryzer versus Epic has concluded. Maybe even versus Ryung as well. I'm uncertain about that. So we're going to try and get some updates. We're going to try and figure out what's going on. And yeah, the winner of Ryung, Epic, and Ryzer will be going up against Future in the next round.
Indeed, they will. Winner of that, of course, will be moving forward to the lower bracket finals, a qualifying match, which should be on the main stream. So, yeah, we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna be casting here. Potentially the last match of this bracket, and yeah, of this bracket, as it looks like bracket B is also still going on. Elaser actually took out Skillus 2-1 and is currently poised to go up against Rogue in the qualifying match later on mainstream.
Yeah, Rogue versus Elasia, that's going to be on mainstream. I believe Steadfast is covering Shadown versus Mixu, or maybe Solar versus Skillus. Against some insane matches going on down there in the lower bracket of bracket B, or lower half of bracket B. So wish all those players the best of luck. And yeah, our future series, our future is uncertain here, as we don't really know who's up against Future.
Yeah, we'll try to determine that.
we'll do our best. Otherwise, we might just go on an extended break here. Once we wrap up with bracket A, we might dip down to bracket B, depending on, what's happening, depending on what finishes faster, what finishes slower. And brackets C and D are still poised to begin in 2 hours. If we finish early, I don't know if we're going to start that early or if we're going to start it at the designated time.
Yeah, I think usually it depends on whether or not the players are present. Because obviously the players aren't there, then there's not much you can do. It was scheduled for later, so you can't really fault them. But if the players are there, and when I say the players are there, I mean every player is there, then there's no reason not to. There's no reason not to just play it while they're ready, when they're ready.
Yeah, definitely. So. Yeah, we'll try and get you guys an update on Epic versus Riser. Until then, though, we're going to be going on that short break. And when we return, we'll have some more StarCraft at some point.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
See you soon.